The physical reality for the post-exilic community in Yehud was defined by what they had lost. They lived among ruined foundations, stripped of political autonomy. Geopolitically, this weakened territory was surrounded by hostile neighbors. The Ammonites and Samaritans actively opposed any efforts by the residents to rebuild their city walls or protect their temple. Beyond the physical threats, the people of Yehud suffered a profound identity collapse. Stripped of a king, a standing army, and an independent state, they struggled to find a clear justification for their continued existence as a distinct group. The author of the biblical book of Chronicles engineered his text as a direct response to this crisis. He needed to answer two highly specific questions for a marginalized population. Who are they, and why do they matter? This coherent historical record functioned as the primary mechanism for their geopolitical survival. The chronicler opens his defense with a daunting presentation of data, a continuous 9-chapter list of ancient names. He provides no narrative context for these individuals. He assumes his audience already has access to the written records that detail their histories. The chronicler treats these genealogies as a highly compressed, curated dataset, stripping away narrative to focus on the essential links between generations. By reducing history to its most abbreviated form, the chronicler builds a precise theological architecture, setting the stage for a resilient national identity. This diagram maps the chronicler's logical progression. To define Israel's place in the world, he starts at absolute first principles, beginning with Adam. The lineage descends rapidly. He compresses generations of human history into a direct vertical line down to Noah. At Noah, the dataset splits into 3 divergent paths, mapping to distinct geographic groups: Ham, Japheth, and Shem. Within the context of the ancient world, Ham maps to the territories of Africa, while Japheth accounts for the nations of Greece. The lineage of Shem anchors directly to the Semitic territories along the Euphrates River, encompassing modern-day Iraq and Syria. This structure perfectly mirrors Genesis chapter 10, which uses the concept of the 70 nations as a complete inventory of the known human race. The diagram shows how the chronicler plots exactly 70 distinct descendant nodes, accounting for the entire geopolitical sphere. Explicitly linking the ancestors of Yehud to this comprehensive Genesis 10 map validates their inherent right to exist on the global stage. To trace the specific lineage of Israel, the chronicler shifts his formatting. A segmented genealogy traces all descendants of a figure, expanding outward. A linear genealogy moves strictly downward. It acts as a funnel, allowing the author to instantly cut through 450 years of irrelevant historical noise. We see this clearly in his targeted textual edits. The chronicler bypasses the name Abram entirely, using Abraham, a specific theological claim emphasizing his role as the father of a great nation. As the timeline continues, the name Jacob is completely omitted. The patriarch is exclusively identified as Israel, focusing the data firmly on national identity. The most aggressive manipulation of this dataset involves the prophet Samuel and the contradiction regarding his tribal origins. Established historical records in the first book of Samuel explicitly identify the prophet as an Ephraimite. The chronicler severs Samuel from the Ephraimite lineage entirely and reclassifies him as a Levite. Rewriting a prophet as a Levite forces Israel's history to conform to strict priestly orthodoxy. It makes temple worship the ultimate metric for legitimacy. This institutional filter narrows the parameters even further when the timeline reaches the era of the divided monarchy. Historically, the northern kingdom of Israel existed for over 2 centuries before suffering a devastating exile by the Assyrians in 722 BC. The chronicler completely ignores the northern kingdom. He treats their existence as irrelevant data and scrubs it from the narrative entirely. For the author, Israel strictly requires 2 elements: the royal line of David and the physical presence of the temple. This framework filters the remaining kings of Judah into binary categories of success or systemic failure. King Ahaz represents systemic failure. His reign is defined by syncretism, which completely compromised the temple and rendered it useless for worship. This chart visualizes the resulting textual real estate. The chronicler drastically elevates King Hezekiah, dedicating 4 full chapters almost exclusively to his massive temple restorations. In this carefully engineered history, a king's geopolitical value is judged entirely by his commitment to maintaining the institutional purity of the temple. Despite this flawless theological blueprint, the historical record of Judah ends in total failure. The nation is ultimately overrun by Babylonian forces, who execute a devastating military campaign and send the population into exile. As this image of the excavated ruins shows, the physical temple, the absolute center of the chronicler's identity model, is left completely destroyed. This creates a severe paradox. The chronicler has constructed a national identity entirely dependent on a building that no longer functions. For the post-exilic reader standing among the rubble, the central question is unavoidable. If the walls are gone and the temple is ruined, what is the future of Israel? The chronicler resolves this tension by executing his final maneuver, severing national survival from physical architecture. The meticulously constructed linear genealogy acts as a permanent, unbreakable anchor. It is a data set that no foreign army can burn. By redefining the nation around the pure theology of temple worship, the idea of Israel outlives the physical structure itself. These 9 chapters of names function as a robust survival manual, providing the blueprint for a future defined by ancestral continuity. By engineering the historical record, the chronicler gave a decimated community a portable, indestructible identity capable of surviving the realities of exile.